Welcome to the One Harvest Podcast. We got Aaron, Kyle, and myself as the host. We got Chino and Hafa. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, we're stoked to be here.
Yeah,
Moon Valley in the building.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If we don't got it, you don't need it.
Hey.
That's right.
Yes, let's get this started with how you got started in the industry. Let the guests just know about yourselves.
So my name's Chino. As my man just said here, I originally started in the industry when I was actually about 18 years old. And what really drew me to the industry was the fact that I was going to school. I had just moved out of my mom and pop's house, and I couldn't pay tuition. I couldn't pay for my groceries. I couldn't pay my rent, all at the same time as going to school while also working a full-time job. So one of my big homies, his name is Perp, shout out Perp or Mac Mahado, gave me the opportunity to work in one of his rooms at the time in Guerneville. And I didn't even really smoke super heavily at the time. Like, I used cannabis socially in the aspect where it's like everybody has a cousin where like we all smoke trees in the garage, you feel me?
Yep.
So I was like, hey cousin,
Let's
like
go.
you want to smoke some trees
The high
in
school
there?
vibe.
Yeah, that's how I came to fall in love with cannabis, is the fact that I was always surrounded by it growing up in Middletown in Lake County. And then I had more of a personal relationship when I moved out of the house and was looking to support myself. And the thing about cannabis is that it's done nothing for me but provide for me, including monetary value to mental, spiritual, and emotional stability, as well as introducing me to people like yourself. Shoot, I wouldn't be here without her.
Facts.
100%.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that is.
love
That
that.
really is. And I can second that. I feel the same way. Definitely.
I feel like that's definitely a relatable.
Cannabis just
vibe.
brings people together. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
She's a phenomenal plant.
And then, like, when you smoke all together, it just opens up your guys' brains into something, a new angle of life. And you're just like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vibes is different.
Yeah.
Makes me enjoy the now a little bit more too.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be more
Keeps you
present.
present, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were blessed to have two guests today. So we got Hafa
Yes,
here.
sir. Hafa, let's go.
Yeah, let's hear a little bit about
Yeah,
you, how you got
man.
started.
So I got started over 20 years ago, honestly. Yeah. So I started smoking weed when I was like 15 or 16. And then probably around the same time when I was like 17 or 18, I just got into this mindset. I used to live in Maryland, so I grew up in Maryland.
Oh shit.
Oh, wow.
Gaithersburg, Maryland. Shout out Gaithersburg. Shout out Rockville, Moco.
They're doing the thing too. With
Yeah,
cannabis
Maryland
right
is
now.
killing it right now, bro.
Yeah.
Maryland is killing it. It's really nice to see. But yeah, I just got to a point where I knew what good weed looked like, and it was really expensive.
And it came from California.
And it came from California. All of it
Yeah.
came from California. And the joke I used to make is I can't afford to smoke weed, so I have to sell it. So
Bottom
to
line,
get a
you know
good
what I'm
head
saying?
stash, the only way I was going to get good weed is if I sold it, because I could not afford to buy a $60 eighth every week when I was 17.
Yeah.
So that's just how I started selling weed, and just like started grinding from there. Moved out to Cali in 2009, originally just for a year with my wife at the time.
Nice.
Shout out Pia. And
Hey.
and we both were like, yeah, we'll live in Cali for a year, then we'll move back
Feel
to
it out.
Philly
Feel
and
it.
buy a house and like
Y'all
raise
never
it.
left.
Never left. I drove up to Humboldt in 2010, started trimming weed up there, and then my homie up there was like, yo, you want to take some pounds back to SF and move them down there? And I was like, I don't know. I used to move pounds on the East Coast, and I feel like I don't got to do that right now. And he's like, the limit is 3 pounds all the way down to San Francisco from here. And I was like, I'm sorry, but what?
Legally.
Yeah,
Like,
you
that's
know,
a little
Sign me up.
different.
that changes the game. And I was like, are you saying
Yeah.
I could literally drive from here down to Burton? And he's like, yeah, you're good, bro. And I was like, I'm never moving back to the East Coast. Like, I'm never.
Done deal.
So that was my entry into like legal cannabis. White market came a little later, but yeah, that was my entry into the med side of things. And then I just never looked back, really. I was playing
for you.
music for a long time. And then post-pandemic, like Chino was saying, weed was just the thing that was always there. Always
was.
provided.
Even through the
The
pandemic,
provider.
I worked
was
through the
booming.
pandemic in cannabis, and it was, we were on
was
fire.
booming.
Yeah, that was the high of the market.
We were essential workers.
Yep.
Literally.
Yes.
Yeah, no cap.
There you go.
Shit, it-
Us and Amazon.
Facts.
I remember when they were trying to close down the dispensaries early COVID in San Francisco, and people
People
damn
were
near had a riot.
freaking
Oh
You know
my
what I'm
out.
saying? Rightfully
Yeah.
shit.
Yep, they need their medicine.
Pretty damn
Okay.
essential.
Yeah, we were on
Yeah.
like the production side trying to just figure out how to keep making it happen while keeping everybody inside safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
still pumping out quantity.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Good
Need to
times.
need to supply the market. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right.
I don't think that's a problem we got out here in NorCal.
No.
Definitely not. And for grade A product is what we got.
Yeah,
And you guys brought some product today. I know
right.
you guys are ambassadors for some
Hell
really
yeah.
good farms, some good cultivators. Let's speak about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the brand ambassador for the Northern California territory for Moon Valley Cannabis, Halara as well. And just as you said, really what I'm trying to do with my own particular independent agency as a small portfolio is I'm trying to work with small manufacturers and cultivators because of the fact that this market is so saturated by a broad variety of different producers. And I think what's really important that some of the industry is losing is the cultural aspect. Like growing up in Lake County, like I was blessed to be surrounded by people who surrounded their lives with cannabis. And when I was like a wrestler, like there was a particular family that always used to show up because it was like October, December, you know what I'm saying?
it's
Moms
that
and
time of
pops,
the year.
yeah, was showing
Yeah.
up with like
Obvious
sticky
time.
fingers a little late. You feel me?
The
Yeah.
black thumb.
You feel exactly, bro.
Black nose.
You straight up.
Bro, I know.
So it was just like really identifying with that and cultivating that aspect of the industry is super important to me. So working with brands like Halara and Moon Valley, it has been something that is not just professional for me, but it is super personal.
Yeah, it's super meaningful.
Oh,
man.
super
Yeah.
meaningful because you see all these legacy farmers and heirloom cultivators that are essentially disappearing from the state. Maybe not the industry, but the state in general. And I think that is a super large disadvantage for our culture. It's like
Yep.
when we have all these companies that just plug the industry up with either invalid product or invalid culture, insight to the culture, is that it's like, what about people like us? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No, respect.
I
bro.
want to smoke it for the medicine and not
Yeah.
the profit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
It's
you know,
all the energy.
Corporate
and-
cannabis is just crazy.
Yeah.
They're doing
So what
their
do you
job.
call corporate cannabis though? Because like,
But I'm talking like not
sorry.
the
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
mom and pop, like
Yeah.
companies that come in with Canadian money.
yeah,
Buy it up, buy a bunch, become just beasts because they buy up 6 different retail spots or brands. They're doing their job. They're making money.
Absolutely.
I can't hate on
Yeah.
them for it, but that's some of the issue.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
for
how closed
sure.
off we are. We can't expand across the country.
Well,
we can't. We can, but there's a lot of work around.
well,
to do it.
Chino's point, I think you do get to a point as a lot of brands. So as an example, I work with Floracal, which is at this point a national brand, right? They are across the country. They work with Cresco, which we also distribute. They are also a national brand. And I feel like there are levels to being a national brand, and there's like differences between somebody like True Leaf on that side of the country that has had the business model of essentially we're going to swallow up people.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That is our goal, and our idea is to just devour.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Own
spread.
the market.
Yeah, exactly. And then there are people, another brand I work with often and that I love working with, Cookies, is seen as corporate weed, for example. But from my experience, they go out of their way to involve the community, to lift up folks
Absolutely.
in Humboldt, to collaborate with folks in Humboldt, for example, and lift up areas and farms that don't get paid attention to by a lot of the industry anymore. And to just collab with amazing humans, because mostly, from my experience, it's a bunch of stoners that love what they do and love weed. And we talk about keeping the main thing. I feel like brands that keep the weed the most important thing, that are about it for the product,
Yeah.
they never lose sight. You can go through waves and you go up and down and you go through bad cycles and good cycles. But as long as you're like, yeah, but the weed's got to be good, right?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
the weed's not good,
End
then
of
what are
the
we
day.
doing here? And yeah, I think that's the biggie for me is it's okay to want to grow. Weed spreads.
Oh,
I always say that
absolutely.
too, right? The weed doesn't stop growing, so I don't stop selling it.
Yeah.
Weed grows, it's supposed to spread, but it's supposed to do it holistically. It's a plant, like sound,
Yeah.
Well,
right?
and it's also like allow these cool collabs. Keep
Yeah.
it on the community level, and I think Cookies does a really good job at that.
Yeah.
Just keeping it in the community, doing events, doing a bunch of stuff that keeps people so engaged that it makes it easy for them to have a presence.
And that's that culture shit too.
Yeah.
That's right back to your culture,
Yep.
keeping it cannabis culture,
Yeah.
and keeping it small time. We're very privileged up here.
I know,
We
we're
we
really
do
spoiled.
get to feel a lot of that still, even though we know what the industry is like.
Yeah.
Up here, I feel like Northern Cali, we're very lucky.
Emerald Triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What is this, Chino?
Straight up. That's going to be our Black Runts from Moon Valley. I also got a couple other jars
This
on the
tastes
table right
amazing.
Yeah,
now.
it's
Go
delish.
crazy. I'm saying.
Those
like,
Runts
hey,
flavors, though.
Man,
Yeah,
Josh
right.
and Eli over there,
some depth to
crushing
it,
it,
man.
crushing it.
We actually have a really cool bunch of different pheno hunts that we're doing with some of my proprietaries with Hella Seed Co. and some of their different varieties as well. Like I may or may not have brought back some seeds or some genetics back from the homeland.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Seeds,
Let's go.
seeds are allowed to.
Seeds are, yeah, they contain no
transport. Yeah.
THC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Seeds
I don't know
are
what you're talking about,
not
bro.
a problem.
Yeah, actually,
I don't
there's
know
a
what
bunch
you're
of
talking
full-grown
Say
plants
less.
that have no THC delta 9 whatsoever. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys knew that, but they're like well under 3%.
Yep.
It's crazy. Yeah,
Yep.
you can
Called
do that.
hemp.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah,
this
they
is
call
what
it
I
hemp.
say.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's
That's
really
right.
nuts. Yeah.
So touching upon the hemp seed aspect is that I'm just trying to replace my omega-3s, you know
There
what
it
I'm
is.
saying? I'm
There
just
it
trying
is.
to
At the end of the day.
hey,
That's right.
They're just
You
not
know?
shelled yet, okay?
yeah. Type shit,
shelled.
you know?
Yes, I love
But,
it.
Loopholes, let's go.
Yeah, we have so many cool different projects coming down. Like on the table, I have some of the Neon Panther. I don't know if you guys got a chance to smell that. But
I gotta check that out.
yeah,
Yeah.
please grab one of the
Yeah.
jars and take
Who's
a smell.
going for it? You go.
Do it.
I'm
That shit's
stuck.
wild.
The living soil
sis.
aspect just really do hit different, especially with some of our more candied and fruitier, brighter notes. Like I just really feel like utilizing those ferment-based agricultural styles translate to such a unique terpene and flora expression for sure.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. The way that they grow in that live soil and they have all these other plants. I remember walking in there and Eli handed a plant that I could eat
Yeah.
that was growing in the bed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, man, try this. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And
This
it's
is
nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was
Yeah.
cool. And yeah, the herb speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So shout out to them.
Absolutely.
Big shout
Sure
out
does.
to them.
Check it
Yeah.
out. Fire.
It's definitely been a journey. I've been working with Moon Valley for about two and a half years now or so, and I originally came into contact with them. I think their first year at Emerald Cup, which was either 2020 or 2021. I was working at my auntie's dispensary, 365 Recreational. Shout out to them.
Hey,
Shout out
let's
to
go.
Lonnie and them.
Subscribe. What's
local
good?
too.
Yeah.
Santa Rosa.
Local
Yep.
too.
Yep.
She's
Hell
also one of my. That's my trap auntie. I was telling her. You know what I'm
You
saying?
got it.
I was working with 365 and their team around that time, and I had seen this board and this exact book on their booth table, and it said indoor living soil. I was like, hey, bro, you got to be capping. Let me reel this back.
Is that real?
You know what I'm saying? Because growing with a lot of these regenerative full sun cultivators that I met through Soulful, shout out to them,
Yeah.
it really gave me a great example to jump from and who I preferred to work with. I think that's super important, is that it's like,
Who you surround yourself with.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to believe in the plant that you're selling.
Yep.
You know,
Big
at the end
time.
of the day.
Let's be honest, if you dress it up for what it's not, you know what I'm saying? Once you open the jar, everybody finna know. you
There
know?
it is. Yeah, yeah. The nose speaks.
The nose speaks.
Yeah, and it
The
sucks.
knows.
Yeah, in
right?
dispensaries these days, like you can't smell it as much as you
Yeah.
could back in.
It
you know,
depends. We are spoiled. So I would say Santa Rosa, in my experience, has a higher, because technically the law says you can, right? So
Okay.
if anybody's living anywhere else in Cali and like you get told the law says you can't, or like
really?
you can have a display jar as long as it is marked as a display jar and will never be sold as product.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually legal to do in pretty much most. So like cities might have their own rules around it, but the law in Cali is like, yeah, you can have a display jar. Sonoma County lets you have a display jar.
just depends on the brand or the farmer.
It can depend
Or-
on the brand. So sometimes brands don't have enough product that they can just
And
like
just, like,
have a jar
around.
for every single shop that's
fresh.
going. Yeah, you're talking
Okay.
about like 100+ stores,
Yeah,
and
no.
then getting a jar of every strain.
And keep
that's
that
a sup-
organized. Like, that's
right.
a lot.
It's
That's
a
lot.
supply chain issue at that point. But in terms of what the shop can do, a shop can always buy one of those eighths for themselves, right? And then they are wholesale purchasing that, and so they're
Yeah.
not going to pay the same price that you as a customer would pay, and they can have a display of every one of their eighths. But honestly, so on the brands I work with, I'm gonna say 9 out of 10 will give
say.
every single shop a display jar for every
Okay.
single
Yeah.
strain they want. Cookies
worth
even,
it.
yeah, Cookies even, which is a large brand, obviously.
just give the client the customer a nug.
Literally.
Just give it to them. Just give it. Just let them crunch it.
And honestly,
but
you've
that-
seen the
that-
difference.
That adds up, though.
It does,
Yeah.
but
It
that
does.
is
That
such
adds
an
up.
important
But the flip
part.
side of it is you're not going to
Crunch the
sell any
nug.
weed because the nose knows, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, you're not going to sell any of that weed. I just
It's gonna
went
go
through this
bad
at
if you don't
Emerald
get the
Cup.
opportunity anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just went through this at Emerald Cup. We were working with Bloom, and they didn't have display jars set up, which I came to discover if I had just asked the right question at the right time, we could have had one earlier.
Yeah.
But luckily, somebody on the cookies team was like, yo, I got some of my cinnamon milk right here. You guys want one of those jars? And I was like, absolutely. So I put that jar out, and instantly it went from people being like, cool, we'll come back, to people picking up 2 or 3 eighths at a time.
Yeah, it
I'm
makes
like,
that much of a difference.
It makes 100% of a difference. And then
For
the next
sure.
day when I came back, the store was like, yeah, after you guys left with that jar, we like sold so many less eighths. And that's when I had the conversation with them. And I was like, hey, why don't we? And then we discussed it. And they're like, oh, you know what? We can do a display. It was like all it took was the right conversation. But sometimes that's a lot of our industry too.
I
Like,
hope
they-
people are listening to this
Learning
because
along
Hafa
the
just
way.
dropped a nugget. Like that's a nugget right there. You
No
want to
cap.
sell weed?
Literally,
real.
that's all
Yeah.
it takes. And I tell all my all the brand ambassadors that work on my team, I say, if you go into a shop and they don't have displays for any of the flower, let us know. Pretty much all of the brands would rather lose that 1/8 per shop
And
than have to lose their whole crop, because
Yeah.
everyone's like, why would I buy a jar of weed I can't smell?
Yeah, but that's just the thing,
Facts.
right? Especially with cannabis, it's meant to appeal to your senses. You know, you have senses, and if you're trying
It's
to
a flower.
And here
Yeah,
it is
but
vacuum
flower,
sealed.
you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Shit.
And I always say too, like the nose is like the sense of smell is the only sense that is like instinctual on a level that is very basic, and it will not lie to you. You don't have to interpret whether or not the thing you're smelling you enjoy the smell of is
Yeah.
good or bad. It's like, if it smells good, you're probably going to enjoy it. If it smells bad, you're probably not going to like it. It's that basic.
It's true, though.
You know,
Because
your
if it smells
eyes,
good,
your-
it's probably going to taste good, too.
exactly.
Your eyes can lie.
Your eyes can lie,
The
your
eyes can
ears can
lie.
lie.
Yeah.
But your nose is not going to lie to you that often. Like maybe you're going to hit something. Now, in my case, like I don't love a lot of sativas. Sorry, sativa lovers, but like I'm just,
Oh,
that is not
Hafa,
the
okay.
spectrum. I can appreciate its beauty. I love
Selective
that they
It's not
exist.
for you.
But they're just
For
not
sure.
for
Yeah.
me.
Hey, me
That's
too,
the
bro.
phrase I use.
And that's the
Yeah.
best thing is knowing. It's so
a
nice
beautiful
knowing.
thing. You know how to
what's-
use your
yes.
medicine.
Once you
Absolutely,
find
you
what
have
works
to.
for you,
And so I love the smell of a lot of
adulting.
sativas, but then I hit them and I'm like, oh yeah, that is just like lemon.
Yeah.
I've tasted lemon before, actually. I don't know that I needed my weed to taste like lemon.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, now I have 1/8 of lemon? Huh. I didn't need that,
But it's the
actually.
high, though. Not what it
Yeah.
tastes like, right?
Yeah,
So,
I
But
mean,
again,
I don't know.
for me, that high tastes like I'm confused. Because now I'm sitting there, and this
I like
happened.
that.
My first learning experience with this was actually Jack, because I was helping somebody that I love trim a lot
Shout out
of
to
gorgeous Jack.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Been around for a while.
Amazing strain, gorgeous. And I had just moved to Cali, so I was just psyched to work with any kind of weed and to see any kind of weed. And then again, my payment was weed, and so I was like, hell yeah, I'll take some ounces of that.
Yeah.
And so I remember being in a circle, and the joint kept coming around, and I was like, everyone's loving this weed so much, and I'm just sitting here like, why am I not high? Like, why am I? Is it wrong with me? I'm
Is
I'm
it
not
me?
smoking it. I'm not hitting it, or I'm not smoking enough of it. Maybe I need to smoke more.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, I just realized I don't like that weed. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's like realization.
It's so
though.
good,
Yeah.
right? It's
You're
just
like,
like,
that's
no.
not for me.
Yeah. And I was like, no,
100%
I'm
feel that.
good. And they're like, oh, you're good? And I was like, yeah.
It's true, though. Like, it
Yeah.
smells
You're like, and that's
good,
so
right?
empowering.
It's not for me. And some people feel the same way about the weed I love. If I hand somebody some runts or some OG, or they're like, is this Hafa weed? They're like, yes, heavier. And they're like, yeah, I can't hit that shit. That's not for me. Like, it's
That's
not.
nighttime only.
You're like, yeah,
Yep.
maybe
We
later.
call that after 8.
that gas. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all I smoke.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you though.
I love
especially
gas.
with this- Yeah, there
And I
it
like
is.
a
Candy
I like
gas.
a small percentage of sativa in it
Yeah.
for the taste
Yep.
too. Like
Gotta
you can
love
change
that
the terpene.
hybrid.
I say
Yeah.
a 1 to
Everything.
9.
I love it
like,
all.
Yeah.
I don't discriminate.
That's your
90%.
prescription.
Yeah.
All right.
90% gas, 10% some citrus in there.
Just
I'll
a little bit of citrus.
I'll
You know, just
sprinkle
like salt
in.
and pepper.
I'll literally pepper
little
in
sprinkle.
just a little Blue Dream and
Yeah.
I'll pile of OG. Giant pile of OG, giant pile of Chem Dog.
Yeah.
Tiny
Well,
sprinkles
yeah,
of
yeah.
blue
I
dream.
think that's an interesting point too. Some of the like newer market is like still really interested in like sweet varieties, but then you talk to a lot of the OGs and they're like talking about like where's the gases, where are the glues, where are the earthies, you know?
Chems,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Earthies. Yeah.
Yep.
I love seeing the chems come back. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When we're talking about like some of those heirloom varietals with a little bit of that gas, and then you mix that with some new
cross
school.
that with
I
some
know,
new
right?
school.
I
That's what
know.
I'm saying.
Let's
It's
go.
something different.
Sometimes
know.
I'll do that with my joint, like different flowers.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Experience
I'm
that
a
with
big
even
salad
nut-
fan.
Oh,
Mine's
Love
like
a good
mix and
salad.
match
Hoffa
anyway.
likes it straight up.
Just
Yeah.
mixing it
Straight
up.
up indica. That's it.
hey, you think this guy's from Cali?
I love me a good salad. But that's the funny part. I was actually born in Cali.
Oh, okay.
So I was
You're from
born
here.
in Cali, moved to Brazil, lived like a third of my life in Brazil, then moved to the East Coast, then moved back to Cali. And so when I landed here, I used to, because people in Brazil, people in Rio de Janeiro have a huge thing about if you're from Rio or if you're not, or it's like a huge deal. A lot of towns have that, right? Where you're like, oh, someone's from Philly. Oh, and I would just be like, you do not know where someone's from just by like
No.
their vibe.
Yeah. word.
And then I got back to Berkeley, where I was literally born, and I was like, "Holy shit, I was born here." I'm definitely from here.
Now it all makes
From
sense.
here.
It definitely
Yeah.
connects.
You're like, wow.
Full
That's
circle.
that's the thing about you though, Hafa, is that when we met in the cannabis world, brand ambassadorship is a kind of like a interesting thing, especially when you're at a store and you almost have either a competitor or another brand running a deal, because every different brand that's going to be in the store is going to be wanting to sell people something. But from the get, when we started working together, this is like the really cool part about specifically the Sonoma County brand ambassadors, is we are all operating on to a point of symbiosis, right? You know what I mean? Like when you walk in the store and I see you and I'm running down, I'm like, I'm fucking juiced,
I
dude.
know,
Yeah.
I'm like,
too,
fuck
bro.
yeah, Hafa's here.
Hafa's
We're
in
selling
the building.
hella weed today.
If
I don't got the party now.
Yeah.
Get
Where
shit
it
done.
really does hit, where it's like, if we don't got it, you really
don't
don't
know.
need it,
Yep.
because it's
Literally.
like what we're offering is the symbiosis of the fact that, yo, it's all weed, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Whether you like sativa or indica, whatever camp you pick, indoor, outdoor,
It's gonna get
we
you
got
there.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You believe in.
And I think it's the whole rising tide lifts all boats thing, where, especially in weed, like I get that maybe a decade ago you were like on a hill competing against literally the hill next to you, and it was
Everybody.
like, dude drives to his hill, he's not going to pick up my 100-pack. It's like, that might have been true then. That's not true anymore.
Yeah.
We always talk about this. I always say, like, we market weed to this 45 to 50-year-old bro that like used to smoke weed. And we forget that there's 400,000 people turning 21 every single year in
Oh, yeah.
America who are like, I know nothing about weed. I've never
Yeah.
gone to a dispensary. I've never learned about weed before in my life. And honestly, I meet regularly 50, 60, 70-year-olds. This happened today 3 times. Or someone was like, live rosin, what are you
that?
saying? Tomato? That's actually the question he asked me. He's like, is that a tomato? And I was like, no, actually. And so there's a lot of people that don't know.
The knowledge, man.
You're educating people.
It's essential, I feel. And so like the BA job, and this is something we were talking about, like
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah,
And I
hitting it.
think bud tenders, brand ambassadors, we spend more time interacting with consumers and the people walking into shops for the first time than anyone else.
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of stuff that for people in production or in cultivation, and I used to do cultivation, I used to do harvesting, I used to trim rooms, the whole nine. And there's a lot of stuff that you're like, yeah, everybody knows fill in the blank part of the industry. And then you talk to a consumer and they're like, I do not know what you're talking about. right now. Like, I'm so confused by what the word. So lemon dog shit is a great example. Cookies just won.
yeah.
Cookies just won the State Fair silver medal with their lemon dog shit rosin cart, which is phenomenal. And if weed, you're like lemon dog shit. That's probably some fire. I get it. I get that. Okay. If you don't know weed, you're like, I'm sorry, dude.
You're
you
like, I
just
will never buy that. yeah.
Smart
Like, hey,
marketing.
hey, bro, you don't know what this shit is till you smoke that shit. But you say, I ain't never smoked that shit before. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
listen, try
Smoked
it.
a lot of shit, but
But that's that
smoked
shit.
a lot of
That's that
shit. I don't know that I've ever smoked lemon dog shit. Is that what you said I should buy? That won the silver medal. Okay.
You're about to check that box today.
I just remember the first time I had to say it in a meeting and I was like giggling a little. This
It's
is
pretty
good.
funny. It's pretty great.
It's
catchy.
clever. They're
It's-
good.
it's catchy.
They're
And
good.
it's old school weed.
What is it?
So it's a cross of various things, but the play on it is cat piss. So like we've had cat piss for a long time.
Yeah.
And I feel like my favorite part of naming conventions for weed is just thinking about how the high person came up with that name and how it connects to something else. And so
Yeah.
I can 100% see someone being like, no, it doesn't taste like cat piss. More like dog shit. And then all of a sudden the room
Game
erupted.
over.
Oh, yeah.
It just sticks.
Yeah, like shit. Yeah. So
How was the Cal State Fair for cannabis?
My man here went. I didn't get the opportunity to go, but he said
it was
Yeah.
popping. The last day that I was there, Saturday, was the day of the awards. That was awesome. It was great. It, as an experience for consumers, I think it was challenging.
Okay.
I think it was fun once you made it to where you could buy and consume the weed. But because of California regulations, they couldn't put advertisements anywhere that was like written where you could go to buy or consume the weed.
God.
And so the dispensary area was like you had to go through a security just like a regular dispensary, but then there was like a little state fair walk-through display of the
Wasn't it-
history of
I was gonna say the
California
history,
cannabis, which is
okay.
awesome. It's really cool.
I heard that
Yeah,
was
that
cool.
It's dope.
The wall.
Yeah.
Very cool. And that to me was like
Taylor Blake said something about that.
it was
Yeah.
very cool. And like my band in Brazil used to play state fairs and like county fairs all the time and shit. And so I know county fair vibe from like 2 different countries, and just imagining like a Brazilian walking through an agricultural fair and being like, this is the cannabis area. I was
Yeah.
like, man, this is freaking dope.
Hell yeah.
But if you're there to just buy some weed, you're like, oh, I just went through oh, okay. Now we're in an exhibit.
Yeah.
Okay. I went through security for an exhibit. Okay,
This
that's
is
fine.
a strange
I prefer to-
experience.
I should keep
Cool.
walking, man.
That's cool.
Shit.
And then you get to the end of that, and then they're like, okay, buy your weed here, but you cannot smoke it here.
Now you have to go find
Now
the
you have to go
smoking
find the
area.
smoking area, and we're also not allowed to write down anywhere how to get there.
Wandering
So you
around.
just gotta literally wander there. And so people would just wander to the smoking area and walk in and be like, sick. Dude, it was really hard finding this place.
people walking in high
You
tire,
can see it on their
sweating.
face.
Oh, 100%. And then they'd ask, so where do I buy the weed? And I'd be like,
You're like,
You're on a
Turn
journey
around. Turn around.
Actually, where you gotta go is from here over there, and then you take your ticket and
Literally.
you give it to this person.
and then you're gonna
Oh, word.
and they're gonna walk through a thing, and then you're gonna come
It's
back
so
here,
funny.
and then when you leave here, they're gonna make you seal up your weed in a plastic bag because you cannot consume it anywhere else.
Don't
in the
even
fair.
look at it. It's I heard it was awesome, but I heard there was a little challenging.
So again,
for
once
sure.
you were in the area and once you were in party mode there, it was dope. Like we
Yeah.
had that cookies gun where you can just light the one end of it and it's just like shooting out smoke everywhere. You pack 2 grams into it. It goes for 3 minutes straight.
I gotta get one. Of them.
Even at the
awesome.
farm.
You gotta get one of
2
those
of them.
It's
on the
wild.
show.
It's wild. So that part was dope.
Yeah.
But again, thinking of the consumer experience was like, man,
As
It's
you,
challenging.
you gotta
If
want.
you made it through that, welcome to cannabis.
right, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
You really gotta
You
love. That's what we were talking about.
understand.
You do that shit for free, you're literally paying for it. And like people were spending money. That's the part that I think we take for granted in the industry. Is we always talk about how like people aren't spending enough in legal weed, or I don't know, bro. People are spending a lot of money on legal
Yeah.
weed. Like people are willing to spend. I just think it takes humans like bud tenders,
Yeah.
like brand ambassadors, like people in store to make sense of all of it. There's like a lot of things.
they need to
lot of
believe in
shit.
it
Or
too.
out of the store.
They really need to
Exactly.
believe in it,
Yeah.
especially the bud tenders, because they are the ones who have direct contact with
Yep.
with the consumer, the buyer,
Yep.
and their feedback to their buyer
100%.
is everything.
100%.
So it's treat
makes
your bud
sense.
tenders well.
Literally.
Yeah.
Word.
The
Word to that.
educators.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because that's
They come with the on, like they get samples. They know what they're talking
Yep.
about. They've tried it,
Yep.
or they could talk to somebody who has. And
They said that at Doobie Nights, the bud tenders.
yeah,
all of
it's
them.
that
Yeah.
direct connection to
Yep.
what you're purchasing.
Well, as bud tenders and ambassadors too, you really do develop personal relationships with the
Yeah.
people that you serve, and there comes a point where you've been on the floor in multiple sales floors and familiar faces, especially
Oh, yeah.
here in
Sick.
Northern California. It's like an emotional connection. When I was going through some things in my life, I had a couple that used to always come see me at Soulful, and I was like, yo, I'm trying to change my life right now. I'm gonna go straight up into farming, and these 2 customers would always ask me like, what are you doing right now? So I'm about to start growing some outdoor with this company named Sonoma Hills Farm. And it was so gracious of them. They're just like, you want this camper, this
Wow.
lazy days
Oh,
Chevy
man.
30 camper, you could have it. And just the bud tender aspect and the brand ambassador aspect, the amount of relationships that you make through
bond,
just
yeah.
serving
Absolutely,
people with
dude.
like
That's awesome.
candid experiences and viable medicine.
Just talking to
Oh,
people,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
connection.
Goes
Yeah.
a long way.
You
I try to
become
hug
the,
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
you
like,
become the medicine
absolutely.
man.
Yeah,
That's what Kyle and I always
absolutely.
say. Kyle's
Yeah.
my medicine
Yeah.
man.
Culture
He
has
is.
that.
Hey,
Yeah.
respect. Yep.
Yeah.
So-
I literally at the Barrel Proof last night, which is an amazing place. Anybody in Sonoma County should go to all the events that happen at Barrel Proof Lounge. We're there every Sunday. We have an awesome time there every Sunday. But we were there last night for a Sonoma County Cannabis Alliance event, and somebody who was just at the bar recognized me from doing demos, and she popped her head on. She's, "Aren't you the Cookies Man?" I was like, I am the Cookies Man. And she popped her head back in and she told her friend, she's like, "I told you, it's the Cookies Man. We should smoke weed out here." And then she popped
told y'all.
outside. We rolled some joints. We had a
Hell
great
yeah.
time.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, she
That's
literally was
awesome.
like just there for the music and then recognized me from demos. Just like, "I see you at Phenotopia all the time." Shout out Phenotopia, one of the greatest stores in the planet.
Hey.
And they're freaking amazing. Largest flower selection in Sonoma County.
Damn.
Yeah, they kill it. But yeah, she's there all the time and she sees me doing
rapport.
cookies demos and she loves her cookies flower. And so they
That's
got great
dope.
displays. You should go check out their flower, their displays. They got
Yeah, we should
displays
do
of
that.
literally
Definitely will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of their flower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Hell yeah.
amazing.
The amount of rapport is so valuable. Like the rapport and relationship building is touching upon your point about like brands doing either promotions, demos, also including like something that's of value. When you're buying something, you're voting with your dollar, right? So it's like when the stores and the bud tenders get shown love through the brands with samples and candid experiences, like how are you going to talk about something that you don't even know is smoking? You know what I'm saying? Like,
100%.
so when you touching on the point of the from the display jar to demos providing like viable promotions like product buy one get ones or percentages off, it speaks volumes, because when you go into a dispensary just like a wine cellar, there's millions of different bottles up in there, right? Whole bunch of different brands. How do you distinguish a brand
Yeah.
from another? Usually it's a person, somebody
Yeah.
putting on that particular brand.
Great example. Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the route that this is taking, especially out here in Sonoma County, is that you have things like with Heritage doing the hash flights. Shout out to them with all their amazing experiences where it's like you're promoting these small brands at the same time producing invisible ROI, which is the relationship.
I think that's a big part of what differentiates our industry from every other industry. And again, a lot of my background before I was like in white market cannabis was I spent over a decade just playing music. I got my master's in fine arts in performance and music. And part of why I always said I played music is same reason. If you keep the main thing, something about it always feeds you, and you're always feeling, I really genuinely don't care if I make more than enough to survive. The thing I am doing is so fulfilling unto
Yeah.
itself that it's
That's awesome.
so powerful.
Yeah.
And cannabis is the same way, where I feel like as long as you're focused on the main thing, if every person that walks into a store, you're genuinely trying to connect with them, figure out how to help them and how to educate them on something so they leave there feeling good about what
Yeah.
they purchased, feeling like they made a decision. And
Yeah.
they're like, I like what I decided to get, and I feel like I know more now than I did when I walked in. They'll keep coming back to that store. They'll feel like I trust them. I
absolutely.
believe in
Yep.
them.
So
They're
true.
not going to lead me
Yeah.
astray. And you can make mistakes. They'll come back and be like, "Hey,
That
that one
didn't
weed,
work.
yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't like
that
that so
was-
much." Or,
Yeah.
And they'll be honest with you, but they won't hold that against
But
you.
that's
It's
how
not
you-
like you
that's-
lied
They'll
to me.
be
or
like, "What can we try next?"
That's how you
Let's
grow,
try something
right? That's how you're
different.
gonna grow with the product.
Exactly.
You're learning.
Yeah.
Well, and
that's
having
right.
people that have that knowledge is so beneficial. Stores need that.
Yeah.
They really do, because that's a whole experience.
They should pay those guys more. It's
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Every
not a-
trimmer should be
they
paid
already
more.
said it.
Every joint roller should be paid more.
Every
Yeah.
pound should be, the good ones
Yeah.
should definitely
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Speaking of joint rolling,
Yeah.
you were a joint roller.
Yes,
Story on
that
that.
was my entry into white market cannabis. Actually, was joint rolling for Henry's. Shout out to Henry's and all the Henry's OGs.
Yo.
But
That's south of Laytonville.
yeah, and for a while they had a production facility out here in Sonoma
Okay.
County.
Nice.
I moved back from San Diego. There were no gigs or money to be made from playing music, and so I told my wife at the time, I was like, "Look, Liz, we got to move back to NorCal." She had never lived up here, and she's so we're just going. And I was like, "Yeah, look, there's a lot of money I can make trimming weed, but this might be the last season where I can make money trimming
Yeah.
weed," and it truly was. And so I sat down at a lot of tables, made a lot of money trimming that season, but then was already figuring out what my transition move was going to be. And someone was like, look, I know somebody over at Henry's. You want to sit down and interview with them? And so there was a period where, I was rolling 800 to 1,100 joints a day.
Wow.
Kudos.
But that's also,
great.
Wow.
But it's also like you're filling joints, you're hand rolling some stuff, but you're filling
Should
a
we
lot of
time 'em?
stuff.
Knockboxing a little bit.
When we were at Reggae on the
Should we
River,
time?
we were at Reggae on the
the
River.
clock
There
out.
was
Get the
a
clock
booth
out.
doing that.
Knock boxes are a thing. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there was this booth that was doing a joint rolling competition. I was like, "Hey, bro, I got you. Bro. I got you. Fucking, nah, bro." You know?
Hafa's here though.
And like, this guy hustled me, bro. He's like, "Nah, bro, like it's straight." You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I was an event roller, but my man was knocking 800 pre-rolls at a time. And player, that's crazy. My man had an advantage.
But those knock boxes help for that
Yeah.
shit. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
that's
Like
what they're-
knock boxes do 90% of that work, but it still takes enough care to know how to not overstuff the joint, to know how to twist it off, to know how to close it, and you're packaging all of it. And so, I
It's a
think
process.
And
It's a
set yourself up
process.
for the next joint.
exactly.
You have to
That's
figure
the
out your
goal.
flow because it's so
100%.
crucial to your little time management.
My
Dropping
biggest
nuggets.
adjustment,
Listen up.
right? No, it's true. My biggest adjustment to like harvesting, processing, and cultivation white market wise was just like adjusting to an 8-hour workday. Was like not a. I was used to hills where I would work from 7 in the morning until 2 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah,
It was
whatever
like,
you felt like.
take
it.
some breaks, pass out in the middle of the day, then come back. But I would work 18 hours a day sometimes and trim like hella pounds every day. And all of a sudden, no, you're here for 8 hours and you're required to take a break every 2 hours at these exact times. Oh shit.
You're like, this break is fucking me up. though.
Literally, I'm in the zone
It's
right
so
now, bro. I'm
true.
like, no, you got to take a 45 minute. A 45? I have
trying
to
to move.
Like,
You're forcing this?
literally. You know?
is this required?
Yeah, literally.
And they come for you if you do not take your
They
breaks
do.
on time.
Mandatory.
they do.
Yeah, they
Nice,
come
you know,
for
which
you.
is
Good.
Pretty much different,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But you
Making
know.
sure,
That's
So,
when you learn what a
California
trim
laws.
reaper is, though.
Wild.
yeah.
Like somebody who can trim 4 pounds in an 8-hour workday of wood greenhouse
Yummy.
weed.
Respect.
That's,
Yeah,
It's not me.
that is moving.
it's amazing.
That is,
It's
yeah.
incredible.
You a machine at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to 2.5, 3 on like amazing weed, but there's some people that are just consistently 3+. It doesn't matter what the weed looks
I
like.
don't know how they do it.
I
That's
don't
Lonnie.
know.
That's
Yeah,
Lonnie.
really.
They do it.
Lonnie Auntie got super long acrylics, so I just be hearing it. Like, goddamn, I'm only out here like a half pound in, and you're out here 2 pounds deep right now. I know you got here 2 hours earlier, but goddamn, Auntie.
That's
know,
so
it's-
good.
Hell yeah.
That's crazy. It's all about the snips per minute.
Yeah.
What,
Just
other,
keep
what
pushing.
other
hands.
flower did you bring, Chino?
I brought a couple of different flowers. So we already talked about some of that neon panther. I got some of this.
Spin this thing.
We got some of this hash burger on the
I
table
saw
as
that.
well. I don't know if
Hash
y'all
burger.
seen that at Emerald Cup this year, but we
Bro,
with
pass it
some of that as the non-infused first place pre-roll. Let me see. I'm gonna shout out this SBOG while we're talking about
I like
something
those
that hit
tamper
different,
labels.
right? Yeah,
The
some-
golds.
Yeah.
I like it.
We had these like white palette like regular paper labels, and I think that just adding a little bit to your packaging
Yeah.
changes a
Little
lot about
power.
it.
The gold's fun though. You don't see a lot of that.
Yeah, this is some of the SBOG. This is those light
Okay.
lime greens. Some of the big homies always press me when they're talking about, hey, if I got a little bit of purple player, it ain't it.
It ain't
It's
it.
like, hey, check out this Starburst OG.
Something
So,
like wedding cake kind of smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one right there, the grapes and cream. That one is something that we did super special maybe about 2 years ago with Mercy. Small batch release on some of our ice water hash, full melt. And then we had some of that pressed, and my God, it hit different. I
bet.
like that one.
The terps.
Yeah, the terps hit different. Maybe some people say that creams are played out, but you know what? Like when it's in living soil, I'm saying.
Telling you.
I don't think any genetics are played
Hey,
out.
creamy gas though is
I
gonna
like
be the
that
new
a
thing.
lot.
Yeah.
Creamy gas.
Cream and gas.
I'm telling you.
We were talking about how
It's
like
a root beer float.
yeah,
I don't know.
root beer flow. You got to have a little bit of that nuance, a palate.
Yeah.
So this is actually the hash burger. This is one of my favorite strains right now from Moon Valley in terms of the heavy GMOs on it. You got you
I saw that one.
This the
It's a hitter.
uninfused pre-roll of this stuff and the hash of it are phenomenal, especially if you're not looking for anything like sweet. I feel like everything is sweet nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
when you're working with like indoor flower and it just has a little bit different of a nose through that living soil, the GMO just jumps through on this. Like broad nose on that one. It hit on like a 38% overall cannabinoid content in living soil. You know what I'm saying? So the numbers are pitching. It's not about the numbers. Let's get that clarified. I feel like that's a large misconception.
The plant speaks for itself.
Yeah, it speaks
when
for
you
itself.
smoke it. Yeah.
But then when those numbers come back, you're like, damn, I knew
yeah,
it.
yeah, like,
I
okay,
knew
cool.
it.
Yeah,
that's
could
nice.
tell.
I could tell.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
That's exactly
That's that
what
frosting
it is.
on the cake.
Yeah.
That shit is pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Smells
stack
amazing.
on that one. If you get a chance to smoke that, let's actually break some
Yeah,
of
let's
that down.
roll some
If
up.
Let's roll some
any
up.
of y'all out there get
Hey,
your
can we
hands
make
on
a
some
little
of that
salad?
in the bay,
Throw
try that
some-
out.
Yeah, let's make a salad, Hafa.
Throw some of
Do
this
that.
Khalifa.
Yeah, and then we'll time
Grab one of those
Hafa.
Khalifa jars over there for me.
Go.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
brought some
The
Khalifa
Khalifa
and some
Kush.
Joker's candy from Floraterra right there. Yeah. This Floraterra is
please.
some amazing local Santa Rosa flower. They do some amazing work. You can actually pop into their main location in Santa Rosa and check out their grow room from inside the shop. They'll tell you what they got growing and how soon it'll pop out.
Sweet.
That's some of the Joker's candy right there.
Yeah, I like Floraterra. They got 4 locations now.
They got 3.
3? Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
they're awesome.
Yeah, shout out to them.
They've
Yeah.
been, they've
Shout out to
been
them.
killing it.
Amazing,
Yeah.
killing it. Yeah, locals.
Love
Yeah.
it.
That's the Khalifa Kush right there. Khalifa's actually going to be at Hall of Flowers. We got a booth with so many different brands at Hall of Flowers. But yeah, Khalifa's, to your point about that GMO candy or that GMO gas vibes, like when you do it right, it just, I had that at the Sonoma County Cannabis Alliance yesterday, and all the old school heads are just like hitting it. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that
see
looks
that.
and smells like old school weed. It's just got that old school weed vibe.
It
Good
does.
shit,
So
right?
I think that's the cool thing, right? Is that it's like we have some really cool breeders out there who are like turf
Pheno
hogs.
hunters, man.
Yeah.
Bringing
Yeah.
some
You know
stuff
what I'm
back.
saying? I was talking to Tony Mendo at Lydia in the City in LA.
Hey, how was that?
It's tight.
Oh, is
it's
it?
tight.
It's dope,
Yeah,
right?
I seen it on Instagram. It looks
It
wild.
looks
It's
hella
wild.
cool. That's what I'm saying.
Cannabis Chris,
We
all
need to
them.
do some shit like that out
Yeah.
here. Right?
Oh, for sure. There needs to be more of that, if anything.
Right?
But it's just not a city yet.
Yeah.
We got weed out here that nobody's ever seen.
Yeah.
For sure.
People literally drive
el-
from down there to buy our weed.
But they have more people than us.
Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
the thing.
That's
true.
the only
Yeah.
thing, though.
Yeah.
That's
it.
City part of it. Like,
Yeah.
we're still fairly, like, small town out here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. SAC be getting big old events, and they're not in
Yeah.
SAC proper. They're out in the middle
thing
of
is,
hell. and
people don't
people be
understand
going out there.
How much Santa Rosa is like a diamond in the rough.
Just sick.
Sonoma County.
Yeah.
That's
People
true,
just don't
though.
get it.
All these events are pretty
Like, where's
cutty.
Hash Hole Island
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
Shout out CGO.
Shout out CGO.
Wait,
No, that shit
time
looks
out.
dope.
Wait, Hash Hole Island?
Hash
Yeah,
Hole
y'all ain't heard of
Island.
Hash
Yeah,
Hole
that
Island?
was out in Alton this year.
Yeah,
Alton.
you went out to that, right?
Yeah. It was actually super dope. Smaller events like that where you have some of the more underground folks who are like just as super headies, you know what I'm saying? And when you're just surrounded by the headies, like eventually collaborations come up,
Yeah.
which is what Moon Valley, Flora and Flame, and CGO did with our hash holes that we dropped
That's
not too
right.
long ago. And
Sick.
it's like, right, that's like why you have these events is to like build closer relationships where in other orthodox industries they're competitors. When it's bro, like you put fire and fire together,
Yeah.
it's stoking a bonfire.
Like good people at anything that is amazing.
real.
Again, just like music. If you're an amazing musician, even if you're competing against someone, the second you get an opportunity to get in the studio with them, I would like that opportunity. That sounds dope.
Yeah.
Sounds fun as shit, actually. And I think weed's the same way. Again, like
I think for the most part, you have some people who are probably still stuck in the old
course.
ways from
Yep.
up north. But
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
I think for the
definitely,
most part, you're
definitely.
seeing so much more of that now.
Yeah.
People wanting to collaborate,
To
people
collab.
talking and networking and
exchanging information.
sharing details.
guys
Living
went-
Soil is a great example.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
living
guys
Yeah.
went to the Emerald Cup too, right? Yeah, yeah.
Out in Oakland.
Yep. What
Yeah,
do
it
you guys
was-
think about that?
It was fun. What
Yeah.
I enjoy about Emerald Cup is seeing the cannabis family like come
All walks of
together.
life.
Yeah, all walks of life.
it.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Especially being in the industry, or even if you're not, is that it's like you get to connect with the people that you connect with through their medicine. You know what I'm saying? Emerald Cup is so great. all the homies who were on the mountain came down all together. Usually you see them separate, right?
Yeah.
When all the families together, like Moongazer Farms, like Heart Rock Mountain Farm, Alpenglow Farms, like all the homies who are on their small family homesteads doing their full sun in their tiny property, everybody gets to come down and we're all preaching the same stuff. And we're preaching efficacy medicine. You know
Well,
what
and
I'm
celebrating
saying?
each other's successes.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Big time. Like the award ceremony was great. Like Essentia Farms doing collaborations with Soulful, again with their rosin and their third party certification with Spark, I believe. It's so great to see all of the people that I've learned from and surrounded myself by receive the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah.
Because this industry is so hard to navigate.
That's the dopest thing about the Emerald Cup.
Yeah.
Like they get appreciated.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
You know, for the hard work, for everything, like the intention they put into
Everything
their
that
plant.
goes into
Right.
For continuing creating the medicine and making it better or even healthier.
It's crazy because it's like, as we all know, this industry is a very interesting beast to navigate at times. And
It's a really nice way to put it.
yeah, there's been point in times like where I worked in a dispensary at the time that still allowed packaging in the back. And this was like 2017 prior to non-medicinal. So where the laws changed in 3 days within an 8 hour or within
Yeah, like your
3
weekend,
weeks.
you're like, what?
Like, things
within
changed.
a handful of hours. And it's like when you're working with things like that, man, you got to be some sort of innovator. And like it's a
You
challenge.
learn to pivot.
Yeah,
You have to.
You
You
have
have
to be able to adapt.
You
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to be able to
Yep.
adapt, and you have to learn to navigate those gray areas, like we were talking about, where it's
Yeah.
like there's going to be a lot of stuff that's nobody even, and like Florical is a great example of this. They were opening up their huge facility here and had already lined it up to where they were like, when the law in Sonoma County comes around that tells us what we're allowed to or not allowed to do, this is what they'll probably want to see. And then by the time Sonoma County got around to writing their laws, they were essentially like consulting with folks from Florical to be like, what should be?
What do we need?
Because they
actually
don't know.
do.
A lot of times, state regulators, folks like that, they don't know what
Yeah.
they should be asking or
learning
looking
too.
for. They're depending on like good people in the industry to
Being
be
honest,
open.
yeah.
To being honest. Okay, here's what it is, and here's why. And I think as long as we have people like that working with regulators, like it's gonna be a slow walk, but we'll get there.
It's only been a slow walk.
Yeah.
Well, it makes more sense than just going the wrong way because that's, you don't know better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So I'll take 1,000
Ever
state
changing.
fairs.
Let's not take steps backwards.
No,
Yeah, let's take
exactly.
Oh, and it's
slow
so
steps
ever
forward.
changing that it's, let's see what this year brings. Here we
I
go.
know. Here
Pretty
we
good
go.
about this year. I don't know.
Me too.
I-
I feel like we're in a pretty good place.
Yeah.
To be honest.
This year's not even over yet.
yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. And there are
Deaths
two
have been coming down. Outdoors about to come down in October. I
Right.
can't wait to see some
Right.
fire outdoor.
Yeah.
We got a
Things
lot of
coming down
farms
for
out
sure.
there.
Well,
Higher
and-
Heights is coming out with some heat.
Yeah,
Yep.
always.
I don't know when this will be
Always.
dropping per se, but there are two laws that right now are on Gavin Newsom's desk that could impact our industry a whole bunch and small farms
Yeah.
especially. There's a direct-to-consumer bill where basically
can
if
we
you're
talk
a
about that?
small,
Yeah.
if you're a small operator that is under a certain acreage, under a certain amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, you can basically set up a temporary event and sell direct to consumer without going through a distributor, without going through a retailer. You get a temporary day permit essentially.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
You get a
pretty.
party pass. I like that.
Yeah.
Little party day.
Yeah.
pass. I like
It's
that.
something
Call it a
that
party
took,
pass.
to your point about the wine industry, it took the wine industry a long time to be able to get to the point where they could set up direct to consumer farmers market type events.
Wine
like,
tasting. and-
exactly.
Yep.
We'll get to do that. And consumption lounges are on Gavin Newsom's desk. It's passed both houses.
Yep.
It's up to him right now. So we'll see how
Fingers
that goes.
crossed.
Yeah, but there's a lot of good stuff
Consumption
on the
lounges
horizon.
would be
I feel
so
like.
dope.
Yeah.
Right?
Like we could just do
Right?
this there.
How nice would that be?
Yeah, just chill, get a glass of water,
Yet.
a lemonade,
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah.
too, though. That could be more.
Yeah, but
a
I'm like,
mocktail. You get a mocktail.
Mocktail.
I think
you could get a
it's-
can of cocktail.
there
There
you
it is.
go. I didn't even think
Yeah.
of that.
They can't
Oh
sell
my
right
God,
now.
the
We're so
possibilities are
alcohol
endless.
hardwired that it's like the space
Well,
just feels
exactly,
right.
and
Yeah.
it's nice to have a space that's not alcohol like centered,
right.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
it's like a
more,
place
it's more
to.
medicine.
I feel like they're gonna be a hit because right
Yes.
now
Be
in this
necessary.
world, I feel
Get a
like
yoga
more
studio
people
in there,
are sober
you know? take a gummy when
Then-
you walk in.
A couple years
Check it
ago.
out.
I feel like it's like
1000%.
the new thing.
Oh, it's
Sober's the
definitely a
new
thing.
cool, which I
wine industry.
think it's
because
rad.
how many more people are smoking weed, and I
Yeah.
say that jokingly, but
The
also there's
wine
been
industry's in
yeah,
the
there's
panic.
been articles written about this shit.
I don't think they're panicking, but
Oh, there's
actually,
been
no,
articles
there
about
is,
this
there is.
shit.
I,
Yeah.
I know some winery owners here. Yeah,
There's
Yeah,
been,
it's been crazy.
the decline
Yes.
in alcohol consumption in people
Interesting.
under the age of 30,
I would say it's
especially
the younger
post-pandemic.
people.
Yeah,
Yep, I can see that.
is drastic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like crazy. And then even for a lot of older people that like their only recreational substance was alcohol, now they can get
Now they're getting their cannabis.
yeah, they literally go into the dispensary, and so they are also drinking less. They're still drinking.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
that's the thing
they're
too.
drinking-
yeah.
It's
That's
like
why I
most-
like to smoke and drink because I drink less.
less.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can have a shot or two of some tequila and.
And usually people
Yeah.
But
aren't
for us, it's
heavily
dope. But
mixing.
if you're a wine
right?
maker, you're
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
why are we selling?
Nobody's trying to get
20%?
super faded, twisted, wobbly, upside down.
I'm just trying to have a sip and a puff.
Which
What-
eventually we'll
call it that.
probably get
Yeah.
there, but
Sip.
like for now, it's dope to have
It's
a
great.
non-alcohol
Yeah.
related
Yeah.
space for
Like
people
Matt
to
was saying
just
from
go
Steep Hill,
and be.
people can't handle that yet.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
baby,
hell
baby
no.
steps
Yeah, baby
first.
steps.
Baby steps first.
Yeah.
No, the reason the state fair had to be like that for no consumption near the sales site and like all
'Cause
that
of the
is because
alcohol booth.
you actually couldn't have any consumption, any smokable consumption visible to people under the age of 21.
Visible.
So the same
These
thing happens in
rules
dispensaries.
are
So if
so
dispensaries
strict.
have, if dispensaries let med patients in, so like Berkeley, for example, Berkeley has a rule where are a cannabis accessory. And so
Wow.
when we do demos in Berkeley, we're not allowed to give out lighters to people as like a gift with purchase because in Berkeley it's illegal to give out any cannabis accessories to anybody under the age of 21. And so if they let med patients in who can be under 21,
Yeah. Wow.
then they don't even sell lighters. If you go into
You're
a
not even allowed
dispensary
to
in
have
Berkeley,
this.
yeah, they literally they can sell them the weed, but they cannot sell them the lighter to smoke the weed with.
So good.
So,
Can't
yeah.
make this shit up.
No, you
Can't.
really can't.
That's
It's
ridiculous.
like, why the ambiguity? Why? It's a lighter for real.
It's like
My thing
someone's
is-
gonna smoke,
No, they
they're
better
gonna-
not
they're
go
gonna find
camping.
that light.
They can't start a fire on the
Yeah.
beach. No bonfires for
I feel like
18-year-olds.
there's more money in batteries and like technology of warming up that through
Ooh.
like carts these days. Everyone's smoking carts. There's no flame involved,
Yeah.
Yep,
so that takes away the lighter.
yep.
Just sad.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Super sad.
Which takes away a gas. I don't know how you can look
Nah,
at it,
the
but
lighter
and then
will
you're
always be around.
yeah,
then
the
you're-
thing. I have to have one.
yeah, and then you're smoking, the pin, the battery stuff. Like what I don't know.
I agree. You know,
I'm a little mixed about the whole thing.
I mean,
The
like,
vaping.
It's a new
Yeah.
territory. You know?
it's interesting. I don't know.
It's great for on the go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But-
See, and then
Convenient.
you can't.
It's convenient for
convenient.
if you
Yeah.
don't want to smell.
Yeah.
You got
Yep.
shit to do or
Yep.
people to be around that don't need to.
Hey, my
I'm
sis-
not
my
gonna
sis-
lie, I got a cold fire in my pocket right now. I
Hey,
love it.
My
Yeah.
sister's
I lose
a
it all the
mom of
time.
5.
I lose
she
it every
loves
day.
her pen. Like
Yeah.
it's easy. It's
I
on
think
the
it's
go.
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
dependent upon the situation, right?
Yep.
Because I'm a religious like wood smoker myself, and it's but if I can't always be rolling a wood, like
Yeah.
I think we gotta get
Time
past
and
like
place.
oh yeah
Yeah,
Times.
really joints for me.
The plant is so
my
versatile for a
mom.
reason, right?
Yep.
It could be consumed in so many different ways, and I'm not trying to be rolling blunts in the middle of traffic no more. You know what I'm
No.
saying?
Yeah, you can't
No
do
We've
that.
more.
grown out of
No
that.
Yeah, I
more.
know what you're talking
Yeah.
about, you
On
know.
the way to the Raider game.
Yeah.
Work. So I did a little bit of
Yeah.
one of these.
Yep. Yep. On the way to the Warrior game.
Then you get a messed up back and you're like, fuck, man.
Fuck.
When you're
Cut
mad
it.
at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad at it.
Should have just
It
hit
tastes
the
really
coal
good.
fire.
That's a good salad right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good salad.
What do we got this tossed in?
Yeah, so we got some Floriterra Joker's candy, some Khalifa Kush, and some of this Moon Valley Black Runts.
Literally
That
a
shit is
pro.
gorgeous.
Mm.
Literally
Literally a
perfect.
pro.
Thank you so much for
Appreciate
being
Yo,
your
here.
thanks for
time.
being here, guys.
Yeah.
You guys are both awesome.
Thank
We
you
need to
guys
do
so much
part
for your
2.
time.
Yeah.
We get some more time.
Hell yeah.
It'd
You
be
guys going to
nice.
Hall of Flowers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's do
Cool.
some
So
shit.
we.
Yeah, let's
Fuck
do some
yeah.
shit.
See
Let's
you
go.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh
For the
yeah.
people.
Let's make it happen. You guys want to
sure.
throw out your Instagram, how people can contact you?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at Chino Chilipino. You know what I'm saying?
You can find me at High Noons, HIGHNUNES _707. High Noons _707. Yeah, find us on IG. Find us doing demos all over Sonoma County, events.
Yep.
Anywhere people are smoking weed, you just might find us popping up.
Find the smoke signal. If you
They
see
will-
either
they will
one of
be
us or
there.
the other
That's
homies,
right.
you know.
You'll smell it.
But yeah, we appreciate you guys for having us
Seriously,
on and
thank
giving
you.
us a
Awesome.
platform.
Thank you.
Likewise,
Thank you.
yo.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys.
Cheers.
One love. Peace.